to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. From time to time, I hear from a disgruntled and probably very wounded parent who's been rejected by an adult child. They've read something or other that I've written somewhere, and they send me a pretty angry email asking me essentially, why do I think it's always the parent's fault? Do I really think the adult child is so blameless? And this strikes me as something that's important for me to address because it underlines a misunderstanding that I think might be fairly common. When someone stops talking to you and steps away from the relationship, they're not available to hash out who was right and who was wrong. They've already decided that you were wrong enough for them to leave the building. There's no debate to be had about blame because the other side is not available for debate. You can get other people to hash it out with you, but is that what you really want? Agreement from people who don't matter, who can't effect reconciliation, who aren't your child? Focusing on blame and fault is a recipe for staying estranged. I guarantee that if your biggest concern is who was right and who was wrong, you're going to have a very hard time getting to reconciliation. And that's true of any relationship, not just with your child or children. Don't mistake taking responsibility for repairing the relationship for taking blame. Being proactive, apologizing, taking the high road, these are indications of maturity, not guilt. I did a podcast episode called Don't Take the Blame, Do Take Responsibility. It was episode number 8. You can find that in your podcast feed or at reconnectionclub.com/8. You may not be able to say for sure how you got to this place with your child, but I hope we can agree that you are now 100% responsible for how you react to the behavior that your child is displaying. You're not responsible for their behavior, only for yours. When you're faced with silence, or a no contact request, or an angry, rude outburst, or an adult child who blows hot and cold, that's episode 38, 3-8. Will you react emotionally in a way that escalates negative feelings between you? Or will you learn to respond to your child's behavior with equanimity, even when you feel triggered? The Reconnection Club, my book, and this podcast all exist to help you take responsibility for healing your estrangement, not blame for causing it. I have no interest in parceling out blame. There's nothing less constructive in this space than wasting time on that. I feel sad when I hear about websites that encourage rejected parents to detail the shortcomings of their estranged adult children, when they could be using that time to explore their own family history or to think about the areas in which their emotional buckets didn't get completely filled, or the way their troubled relationship with their child has in some ways mirrored earlier relationships that were also troubled. How could anybody feel good about themselves or their children or feel empowered to take action from reading posts about how awful these estranged adult children are? Whereas, doing the challenging but rewarding work of personal growth, which I highly recommend for both parents and adult children, can actually lead you to a better place, a place of greater understanding, greater compassion, and ultimately greater peace, no matter what. If you are a Reconnection Club member, thank you for using our forums to practice self-awareness as you study typical parent-adult-child issues. Thank you also for helping each other find perspective in what's often a confusing and discouraging landscape, and for steadfastly supporting each other with kind words and wisdom. We have the best members on the planet, and as you know, these podcast episodes are often inspired by your questions and reflections in those forums at reconnectionclub.com. In summary, when estrangement is already in place, fussing over whose fault it is a waste of your precious, precious time and energy. If the current estrangement is a problem for you, if it hurts your heart enough that it's affecting your quality of life, then you will want to take responsibility for solving the problem, whatever that takes. And that's why I'm here. That's the reason I wrote my book, Reconnecting with Your Estranged Adult Child. That's why Mike and I founded the Reconnection Club. Our club and all of these resources don't exist to encourage parents to blame themselves for their estrangements. The essential intent of the Reconnection Club is to help parents create healthy, mutually satisfying relationships with their adult children. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.